Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park. Sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
John Messina has agreed out loud that Pompey's playing style last season was a tale of two halves. First of all, we played out from the back and then we went direct. So the question is, what playing style are Pompey going to adopt for our second season in the Championship?
I think that the best way to put it is that towards the back end of the season, particularly if you look at, say, the Watford game, the Norwich game, and parts of the game against Derby as well, I think that was probably close to what we're hoping to see next year. So a good combination of being able to play from the back, but also still the ability to go more direct as well. I think that at times in the first part of the season, we were a bit too obsessed with playing out from the back and got caught a few times. And then probably when we struggled at times the rest of the season as well, probably went a bit too direct, became a bit too predictable, and we want to fall somewhere in between that. And I thought we did that really well. Not just the result, but the performance against Norwich was a good example of the fact that, you know, look at the first two goals, they're really good team goals that come from Nico playing into Freddie to start the move off. And we had everything in between as well. A couple of times where we went direct into Colby and scored from set pieces as well. So we want to get the right mix and the balance there, and I think that's an important thing for us going into next year.
John Messina is manager of Portsmouth FC. I know it's fashionable nowadays to try and have people refer to him as the head coach, but he's the manager. He is management material. We want him managing every aspect of the club, except perhaps the high finances and the law, which belongs to Pompey's legal team and the likes of Andy Cullen. But on match day, and from 3 o'clock onwards, if it's a conventional 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, but we'll argue about that another time, he becomes head coach. But it must be very frustrating for him to be in that technical area when he recognises that the opposition side are playing slightly differently from how they anticipated, and that therefore the approach that they decided to start with needs to be tweaked, augmented, changed. We'll start with playing the ball out from the back, but if they're all over us, then we'll go direct. But we know how that decision is made by John Messina, because he's quick and he can spot it in a matter of minutes. And when he's got captains on the pitch, such as Marlon Pack and Matt Ritchie, they spot it too. And you used to get conflabs last season with Pack running across. If somebody was, taken a knock, and the medical people had come on, then Marlon Pack would run straight over to John Messina, and either he'd be telling John Messina something or John Messina would be telling him something, but presumably it is, shall we change our approach? Not necessarily our shape, but our approach. Are we going to lob it long, or are we going to play it out from the back? It seems to be the two options. You never know how the other side are going to turn out, how they're going to approach the game. There's a famous quote from a German military expert. He wrote this thing in 1871, and the whole world's generals took it over and devoured it, and they condensed it down to this single thought: every battle plan only survives until first contact with the enemy. And that's exactly how a football game is, because the other team shouldn't know how we're going to start, and we'll never know how they're going to start. It's not until the game is 5 to 10 minutes old, and most games, hurly-burly starts last for about 10 to 12 minutes, that things start to settle down, and you can see that perhaps a change of approach is necessary. So whilst we went largely direct for a large part of the season that's just ended, and whilst we went playing the ball out from the back for the initial part of the season that's just ended, it's crystal clear, isn't it, that we need both approaches to be available to the head coach to get the message out onto the pitch, play it out from the back occasionally, but mostly go long, or the other way round. Now, whether that involves a signal, whether that involves a message, a verbal message being passed from the touchline out across the pitch to the Pompey players or not, we'll never know, not until they retire and they tell us the truth. I do always remember a winger playing on the wrong wing in a match I was watching, and we came back on the train with that team. Teams used to go to away games on the train, And he was asked by another fan why he switched wings during the first half. And do you know what he said? He said it was because he'd backed a horse in the 3:15 and he knew that there was a transistor radio in the dugout and he wanted to know if the horse had won. OK? So there are things going on the pitch and in the dugout and behind the scenes to do with playing style that we'll never be able to penetrate. We'll never know. But it is refreshing to know that Pompey can play it one of two ways and they're able to pick and choose the moment when they flip-flop between those two playing styles. John Messino did well in that little interview to make it absolutely clear to us that he knows what we're about, but he's not going to say anything that's going to give any food for thought to any of the opposing teams who are preparing now to either come to Fratton Park and give us a thick ear or entertain us at their place and give us an even thicker ear. That's going to be their idea. And everything that we can do to make sure that we don't get any thick ears or thicker ears, we should and we will.
The summer transfer window opens in just over a week, and Pompey's Andy Cullen has shared his thoughts on what we can expect, possibly hinting at the club's own plans. The chief executive believes we won't see much action until late next month, though he's anticipating an interesting period of transfers ahead. With June 1st approaching fast, this year's window will operate slightly differently than usual. FIFA has set up a special window from June 1 to 10, mainly to accommodate teams in the Club World Cup. While Cullen expects plenty of movement overall, he thinks it'll be less hectic than previous summers. The early days might be quiet for Pompey, with Cullen suggesting the real action won't kick off until deeper into June. It should be an interesting summer, though we won't need to bring in as many players as last year, he explained. The early June window is really for Club World Cup teams and maybe some Premier League sides sorting out contracts. May's always pretty quiet. I've only seen a couple of championship moves, and one of those was actually arranged back in January. Things usually start picking up in June, especially towards the end of the month. When we won League One, we did loads of early business, but our championship season was different. Transfers happened throughout the summer. It took longer than we wanted, but we still managed to bring in 14 players. Right now, there's lots of behind-the-scenes chat between clubs and players. Most players are on holiday anyway. Once they start coming back, that's when business really picks up before pre-season begins.
Yeah, Andy Cullen does his best at the beginning of every transfer window to manage people's expectations. Fans want news, they want people coming in, they want big bucks being spent, and you have to keep a lid on it. It's enjoyable to let your own temperature rise as you click on your phone every 45 minutes to see whether Pompey have signed somebody. But that's all part of the fun of football. When the transfer window opens, we have, goodness, nearly as much fun as we have when the game is being played. It's exciting. And it's important, though, that Andy Cullen does his best. And I don't think he can be completely successful. I'm not sure he can be at all successful in stopping the clamour for signing. The social media folk who are demanding that the owners dig deep into their pockets and so on and so forth. And it's all part of the fun of the game. So he's saying that we won't be doing any business in this first week or 10-day long opening stint of the transfer window, and that we shouldn't expect much activity until June. Until then, we will, on Pompey Sound, run with whatever rumours seem substantial enough for us to pass on. One or two of them, which are clearly simply intended to fill space, what's it called, vacuum copy, we'll pass on in that spirit. We will say, this is what's being said in a place, we don't believe it. But I don't think you need us to advise you on that. We all know the score. We all know the score.
The Bucks Free Press is reporting this story about Kusini Yengi, the 26-year-old Australian international, who joined Pompey from Western Sydney Wanderers in July 2023, will be a free agent when his contract expires with the South Coast team on June 30th. He scored 14 goals for John Messino's team in his maiden year in England, as he helped Portsmouth secure the 2024 League One title and promotion to the Championship, ending 12 years away from the division. However, an injury-hit 2024-25 campaign saw Yengi play just 14 times, 6 of these outings have come since New Year's Day. He also failed to score for the club in the campaign that has just finished, with his only goals of the season coming internationally. These came in a 2-2 draw against Bahrain in a 2026 World Cup qualifier last November. At the time of writing, Yengi is away on international duty with the Socceroos as they take on Japan and Saudi Arabia in 2 World Cup qualifiers next month. In all, he played 45 times and scored 14 goals for Portsmouth. It is expected to be a busy summer for Wycombe in terms of transfers, with the club already confirming the departures of 15 players. However, Wanderers will be one of many clubs hoping to secure his services.
So Wycombe made the playoffs, but they're not in the final, so they are in League One next season, and Kusini Yengi could easily flourish for them in League One. He did a great job for us in League One. And I'm not saying that he didn't hack it in the Championship. The simple fact of the matter is that we didn't get enough opportunities to see what he can do at that higher level, the second tier in English football. Third tier, he could be a snip. He could be an absolute steal. And we wish him well, of course.